Logan Crommore set his welding torch aside and pulled off his safety mask. The metal fabrication shop stayed quiet except for the hum of ventilation fans. Sweat dripped down his neck despite the October chill creeping through the warehouse. He checked his watch. 4:30. Time to head home. The drive through Red Grove took 15 minutes on a good day. Logan knew every pothole on Maple Street, every stop sign that came too soon. The town spread out in neat rows of suburban houses, each with their small front yards and driveways that held the same 3-car models everyone seemed to drive. He pulled into his driveway and noticed Nancy's Honda wasn't there. Again, inside the house, Ruth sat at the kitchen table with homework spread in front of her. She wore an oversized gray hoodie that swallowed her small frame. The sleeves covered her hands completely. "Hey, kid." Logan dropped his keys on the counter. "Where's your mom?" Ruth didn't look up from her math book. "Store." "What store?" "Just the store." Logan studied his daughter. Ruth had always been quiet, but this felt different. The way she hunched over her books, the way she avoided his eyes. Something was wrong. "You hungry?" he asked. "Not really." "When did you eat last?" Ruth shrugged. "Lunch. That was 6 hours ago. I'm not hungry." Logan opened the refrigerator and pulled out sandwich ingredients. "I'm making you something anyway." He spread peanut butter and jelly on bread while watching Ruth from the corner of his eye. The hoodie she wore was his old Navy sweatshirt. It had fit him when he was 20 pounds heavier. On Ruth, it looked like a tent. "When did you start wearing my clothes?" he asked. "Mom said I could." "I didn't say you couldn't. Just wondering." Ruth finally looked at him. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She looked tired in a way that 12-year-olds shouldn't look tired. "Are you feeling sick?" Logan set the sandwich in front of her. "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." "I said I'm fine." Ruth's voice cracked with frustration. Logan sat across from her. 20 years in the military had taught him to read situations. Something was eating at his daughter, and it wasn't homework stress. "Talk to me, Ruthie." "There's nothing to talk about." "Then why won't you look at me?" Ruth picked at the sandwich crust. "I just don't feel good sometimes." "What kind of not good?" "Stomach stuff." "Like what?" "Just stomach stuff, Dad." "It's not a big deal." Nancy's Honda pulled into the driveway with a crunch of gravel. Ruth immediately straightened and shoved the sandwich in her mouth like she was trying to finish it before Nancy came inside. The front door opened. Nancy Crommore walked in carrying 2 small grocery bags that couldn't have taken 3 hours to shop for. "Hey, family." Nancy smiled bright and wide. "How was everyone's day?" "Fine." Ruth mumbled through her sandwich. "Good," Logan said. He studied Nancy's face. Her makeup looked fresh. Her hair was styled like she'd just left the salon, not a grocery store. "Ruth, honey, you should eat more than that," Nancy said. "You're getting too skinny." "She says her stomach's been bothering her," Logan said. Nancy's smile flickered for just a second. "It's probably just growing pains. Girls her age go through all kinds of changes." "What kind of changes?" "You know, hormonal stuff. Body changes. It's normal." Logan didn't buy it. Nancy had a way of explaining away problems without actually explaining anything. "Maybe we should take her to see Dr. Martinez," Logan said. "That's not necessary," Nancy said quickly. "It's just normal teenage stuff. She's 12, almost 13. Girls develop early these days." Ruth pushed her plate away. "Can I go to my room?" "Finish your sandwich first," Logan said. "I'm full." "You ate 3 bites." "Logan, don't force her to eat if she's not hungry," Nancy said. "That's how kids develop eating disorders." Ruth escaped to her room before Logan could argue. He heard her door close with a soft click. "She's been acting strange for weeks," Logan said. Nancy unpacked groceries that consisted of a bag of chips and some ice cream. 3 hours for chips and ice cream. "She's fine," Nancy said. "You worry too much." "I worry the right amount. She's just going through a phase. All kids do." Logan watched Nancy move around the kitchen. She had a nervous energy that didn't match her casual words. Her hands shook slightly as she put the ice cream in the freezer. "Where were you all afternoon?" he asked. "Shopping." "I told you." "For 3 hours?" "I ran into Maria at the store. We got coffee and talked." Logan nodded. Nancy always had an explanation. Nancy always had someone she'd run into, somewhere she'd been, something that had taken longer than expected. That night, Logan tried to talk to Ruth before bed. He knocked on her door and waited for permission to enter. "Come in." Ruth sat on her bed, drawing in a sketchbook. She was talented with art, always had been. Her drawings showed more skill than most adults Logan knew. "What are you working on?" he asked. Ruth closed the sketchbook quickly. "Just stuff." "Can I see?" "It's not finished." Logan sat on the edge of her bed. "You know you could talk to me about anything, right?" Ruth nodded, but didn't meet his eyes. "If something was bothering you, you'd tell me?" "Yeah." "If someone was bothering you, you'd tell me?" Ruth's pencil stopped moving. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if anyone made you uncomfortable. Anyone at all. No one's bothering me." "Okay." Logan kissed the top of her head. "I love you, kid." "Love you too, Dad." But as Logan left her room, he caught a glimpse of her sketchbook. The edge of a drawing showed what looked like a dark figure looming over a smaller one. The small figure appeared to be hiding. 3 weeks later, Logan's phone rang at work. Unknown number. "Is this Logan Cromwell?" "Yeah. This is Principal Davidson at Redgrove Middle School. We need you to come in immediately. Ruth has had a medical emergency." Logan's blood turned cold. "What kind of emergency?" "She collapsed during gym class. The paramedics are here." Logan dropped his tools and ran for his truck. The drive to the school took 8 minutes of breaking speed limits and running stop signs. An ambulance sat in the school parking lot, red and blue lights painting the gray afternoon. Inside the school, Logan found chaos. Teachers huddled in whispered conversations. Students pressed their faces against classroom windows. Principal Davidson met him at the office. "Where is she?" Logan demanded. "The paramedics are checking her now. She's conscious but weak." "What happened?" "She was running laps and just went down. Coach Martinez said she looked pale all week." Logan pushed past the principal toward the gymnasium. He found Ruth sitting on a bench with a paramedic taking her blood pressure. She looked tiny and fragile under the bright gym lights. "Ruth." Logan knelt beside her. "How do you feel?" "Tired." Her voice came out as barely a whisper. The paramedic, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, looked at Logan. "Are you her father?" "Yes." "We need to transport her to the hospital for evaluation. Her blood pressure is low and she's showing signs of dehydration." "I'll follow you." At Redgrove General Hospital, Logan paced the emergency room waiting area while doctors examined Ruth. Nancy arrived 30 minutes later, her hair windblown like she'd been running. "What happened?" Nancy asked, breathless. "She collapsed at school." "Oh my God. Is she okay?" "They're checking her now." Nancy sat beside him, her leg bouncing with nervous energy. "She seemed fine this morning." "She hasn't seemed fine for weeks." "Don't start with that again, Logan." A doctor approached them. Dr. Sarah Chun, according to her badge. She looked serious. "Mr. and Mrs. Cromwell." "That's us," Logan said. "I need to speak with you privately about Ruth's condition." They followed Dr. Chun into a small consultation room. Logan's stomach twisted with fear. "Ruth is stable," the doctor began, "but we've discovered something during our examination that requires immediate attention." "What?" Logan asked the doctor. Chun took a breath. "Ruth is pregnant, approximately 6 months along." The words hit Logan like a physical blow. The room spun around him. 6 months. Ruth was 12 years old. "That's impossible," Nancy said. "She's just a baby herself." "I understand this is shocking," Dr. Chin said, "but the pregnancy is confirmed. We need to discuss options and next steps." Logan couldn't speak. His daughter, his 12-year-old daughter, pregnant. "There must be a mistake," Nancy continued. "Run the test again." "Mrs. Cromwell, there's no mistake. We've also contacted Child Protective Services as required by law when we encounter pregnancy in a minor this age." Nancy's face went white. "CPS. It's standard procedure. They'll want to interview Ruth to determine how this happened." Logan found his voice. "How this happened?" "She's 12. This is rape." "Yes," Dr. Chin said quietly. "That's what we need to determine." 2 police officers arrived an hour later. Detective Orrin Klein, a man Logan recognized from around town, and a younger female officer whose nameplate read Martinez. "Mr. Cromwell," Detective Klein said, "we need to speak with Ruth about her situation." "She's terrified," Logan said. "I understand. We'll be gentle, but we need to know what happened to her." Logan wanted to punch something. Instead, He followed the officers to Ruth's hospital room. Ruth lay in the bed, looking impossibly small against the white sheets. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Hi, Ruth," Detective Klein said softly. "I'm Detective Klein. I know this is scary, but we need to ask you some questions." Ruth looked at Logan. He took her hand. "It's okay," Logan said. "Tell them the truth. Can you tell us if someone hurt you?" Officer Martinez asked. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. "Ruth, honey, we know you're pregnant," Detective Klein said. "That means someone older than you did something they shouldn't have done. We need to know who it was so we can stop them from hurting other kids." Ruth looked at Nancy, who stood in the corner of the room. Nancy gave her a small nod. "I can't," Ruth whispered. "Why can't you?" Logan asked. Ruth squeezed his hand. She leaned close to his ear and whispered so quietly he almost didn't hear her. "Mom said not to say anything or they'd take me away." Logan's blood turned to ice. He looked at Nancy, who was staring out the window like she hadn't heard anything. That night, Logan sat in Ruth's hospital room while she slept. Nancy had gone home to get some rest, but Logan couldn't leave his daughter's side. Detective Klein returned around 9 o'clock. "Any change?" Klein asked. "She won't talk." Kids often protect their abusers, especially when they're family members or people they trust. Logan's jaw clenched. "You think it's someone she knows?" "Usually is. Statistics show that most child sexual abuse is committed by someone the child knows and trusts." "What about Nancy's comment?" "What comment?" Ruth said Nancy told her not to say anything or they'd take her away. Detective Klein made a note. "We'll need to interview your wife separately." "Good. Mr. Cromwell, I have to ask, is there anyone in Ruth's life who's had unusual access to her? Babysitters, family friends, relatives?" Logan thought about the past year. Nancy had started having more friends over. People Logan didn't know well. Men who Nancy said were just friends from work or the gym. "Nancy's been more social lately," Logan said. "New friends? Anyone in particular?" "There's this guy Keaton Voss. He comes around sometimes when I'm at work." "How long has this been going on?" "Maybe 8 months. Nancy said he needed help with some project around his house, so she'd go help him. Sometimes he'd come here." Detective Klein wrote down the name. "What do you know about him?" "Not much. Nancy said he used to work with kids somehow. Youth programs or something. We'll look into him." Logan watched Ruth sleep. Her face looked peaceful for the first time in months. "Detective," Logan said, "if Nancy told Ruth to keep quiet about who did this, what does that mean?" "It could mean your wife is trying to protect the family from scandal. Or it could mean something worse." "Like what?" "Like she knew what was happening and didn't stop it." Logan felt sick. The possibility had been dancing around the edges of his mind since Ruth whispered those words, but hearing it out loud made it real. "You think Nancy knew?" "I think we need to find out what Nancy knew and when she knew it." The next morning, social worker Linda Hayes came to interview Ruth. Logan insisted on being present. "Ruth, we know this is hard," Linda said, "but we need to understand what happened so we can keep you safe." Ruth picked at the hospital blanket. "I don't want to talk about it." "Did someone tell you not to talk about it?" Ruth nodded. "Who told you that?" Ruth looked at the door like she expected Nancy to walk in. "Your mom." Linda asked gently, another nod. "What exactly did your mom say?" "She said if I told anyone, they'd put me in foster care and I'd never see Dad again." Logan's hands clenched into fists. Nancy had threatened their daughter into silence. "Ruth," Linda continued, "no one is going to take you away from your dad. Your dad loves you and wants to protect you. But we need to know who hurt you so we can stop them from hurting other children." Ruth started crying. "Mom said it wasn't really hurting if it was helping our family." "What did she mean by helping your family?" "She said we needed money and Keaton was going to help us get money." Logan felt the world tilt sideways. Nancy had sold their daughter. Nancy had traded Ruth's innocence for money. "Tell me about Keaton," Linda said. "He's Mom's friend. He comes over when Dad's at work. Mom always tells me to be nice to him because he's going to help us." "How does he help you?" Ruth's voice got smaller. "Mom says I have to do what he wants or we'll lose our house." Logan stood up so fast his chair fell over. "I'm going to kill him." "Mr. Cronmore, please sit down," Linda said. "No, I'm going to find this son of a bitch and I'm going to kill him." "Dad, please don't leave me," Ruth cried. Logan looked at his daughter's terrified face and forced himself to calm down. He picked up his chair and sat back down. "I'm not going anywhere, baby," he said. "I promise." But inside, Logan was planning exactly how he was going to destroy the people who had hurt his daughter. Logan requested emergency custody that afternoon. The paperwork was simple enough. Nancy's bizarre behavior and Ruth's pregnancy provided clear grounds for temporary custody pending investigation. Nancy arrived at the hospital that evening to find Logan and Ruth eating dinner from the cafeteria. "What's this about emergency custody?" Nancy demanded. "Sit down," Logan said. "Don't tell me to sit down. This is ridiculous." "Nancy, sit down and shut up." Nancy sat. Logan had never used that tone with her before. "Ruth told the social worker some interesting things today," Logan said. That Nancy's face went pale. "What kind of things?" "About Keaton Voss." "I don't know what you're talking about." "About how you told her to be nice to him because he was going to help our family with money." Ruth's confused. "She's been through trauma." Logan leaned forward. "What kind of trauma, Nancy?" "The pregnancy trauma. Kids make up stories when they're scared." "So Ruth is lying." "I didn't say she was lying. I said she's confused." Logan watched Nancy squirm. She kept glancing at Ruth, like she was trying to send silent messages. "Ruth," Logan said, "tell Nancy what you told the social worker." Ruth looked terrified. "I don't want to." "It's okay. Tell her." Ruth's voice shook. "I told them about Keaton. About what Mom said." Nancy's mask of concern slipped for just a moment. Logan caught a flash of something cold and calculating in her eyes. "Ruth, honey, you know I would never do anything to hurt you," Nancy said. "But you did hurt me," Ruth whispered. "How'd I hurt you?" "You made me go with Keaton when Dad wasn't home. You said if I didn't, we'd lose everything." Nancy looked at Logan. "She's making this up." "Am I making it up?" Ruth asked. "Am I making up what Keaton did to me? Am I making up what you told me about the baby?" Logan's blood froze. "What did she tell you about the baby?" Ruth started crying. "She said the baby would help us get lots of money. She said some people pay lots of money for babies." Nancy stood up. "I'm not listening to this." "Sit down," Logan said. "No." Ruth is having some kind of breakdown. She needs psychiatric help. "Nancy, sit down, or I'll make you sit down." Nancy sat. She knew Logan meant it. "Ruth," Logan said gently, "what exactly did Nancy tell you about the baby?" "She said Keaton's friend has people who want babies but can't have them. She said they'd pay us money and we could move somewhere nice." Logan felt like he was falling into a dark hole. Nancy had planned this. Nancy had orchestrated the rape of their daughter for money. "How much money?" Logan asked. "A lot. Like $400,000. Logan stared at Nancy. $400,000. Nancy's face had gone completely white. "Ruth is sick. She's making up stories." "No, I'm not," Ruth said. "You showed me the emails. You showed me the bank account." "What emails?" Logan asked. "The ones from Keaton's friend about finding families for babies. And the bank account with Mom's old name on it." Logan turned to Nancy. "Your maiden name?" Nancy said nothing. "Answer me." "This is insane," Nancy said. "I'm calling my lawyer." "Call him. But first answer my question. Do you have a bank account under your maiden name?" Nancy's silence was all the answer Logan needed. Logan left the hospital at midnight with one mission: find evidence. Ruth was safe with security at the hospital. Nancy had gone home after threatening to straighten this mess out. Logan had let her go because he needed her to think she was still in control. Home. Logan went straight to Nancy's computer. She'd always been careless with passwords, using the same one for everything. He logged into her email account on the first try. What he found made him physically sick. Emails between Nancy and someone named Derek Holbrook about private adoptions for couples who need discretion. Prices range from $200,000 to $500,000, depending on the health and age of the birth mother. An email thread with Keaton about preparing Ruth and keeping her calm until the baby was born. Bank statements for an account under Nancy Whitmore, her maiden name. Deposits totaling $50,000 over the past 6 months. Down payments. Logan printed everything. Then he copied the files to a flash drive. Then he took photos with his phone. He wanted multiple copies of evidence that would put these animals in prison for the rest of their lives. That he found more. Travel bookings to Montana under fake names. A new identity for Nancy complete with social security number and driver's license. Plans to disappear the day after the baby was born. Nancy had been planning this for over a year. She groomed Keaton to rape Ruth. She groomed Ruth to accept the abuse. She planned to sell their grandchild and disappear with the money. Logan's phone buzzed. Text from Nancy. Where are you? He texted back. Couldn't sleep. Driving around. Another text. Come home. We need to talk. Logan knew Nancy was panicking. Ruth had said too much. The plan was falling apart. He spent another hour searching the house. In Nancy's closet, behind old shoeboxes, he found Ruth's missing sketchbooks. Page after page of drawings showing a man hurting a small girl. Pictures of the man giving the girl things, candy, money, toys. Pictures of a woman watching from the doorway. Nancy had known. Nancy had watched. Nancy had probably helped. Logan took photos of every drawing. Then he put the sketchbooks back exactly where he'd found them. His phone rang. Nancy, where are you? She demanded. Driving. Come home right now. Why? Because we need to discuss what Ruth said today. She's obviously confused, and we need to get our story straight before this gets out of hand. Logan almost laughed. Nancy still thought she could manipulate him. What story? Logan asked. The story about what really happened. Ruth obviously had some kind of relationship with someone at school, and now she's trying to blame innocent people to avoid getting in trouble. You think Ruth chose to get pregnant? I think 12-year-old girls do stupid things and then lie about it when they get caught. Logan hung up. He'd heard enough. Logan returned home at 3 in the morning. Nancy was waiting in the living room. We need to talk, she said. Logan sat across from her. Talk. Ruth is obviously traumatized and confused. She's making up stories about me and Keaton. What stories? About me telling her to be nice to him. About money. About bank accounts. None of that is true. Logan nodded. So she's lying? She's confused. The pregnancy has affected her brain. Pregnancy affects brain function. Hormones can cause confusion and false memories. Logan almost admired Nancy's ability to lie so smoothly. What do you think really happened? I think Ruth met some boy at school and experimented. Now she's pregnant and scared, so she's blaming the first adult man she can think of. Keaton, right? Poor Keaton is just a family friend who tried to help us. And now Ruth is destroying his reputation with lies. Logan watched Nancy's face. She believed her own lies. Or at least she acted like she believed them. So you never told Ruth to be nice to Keaton? Of course not. You never mentioned money or selling the baby. Never. You don't have a bank account under your maiden name? Nancy hesitated for just a second. No. Okay, Logan said. I believe you. Nancy relaxed. Good. Now I need to figure out how to help Ruth remember what really happened. How do we do that? We get her some therapy. Help her work through the confusion. Logan nodded. Makes sense. And we need to protect Keaton from these false accusations. How? Maybe you could talk to him. Let him know we don't believe Ruth's stories. Logan's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice calm. You want me to apologize to the man who raped our daughter? The man who Ruth is falsely accusing of rape, right? Of course. Nancy stood up. I'm going to bed. Tomorrow we'll start fixing this mess. Good night, Nancy. After Nancy went upstairs, Logan sat in the dark living room and planned his next move. Nancy thought she'd convinced him. Nancy thought he was buying her lies. That gave him an advantage. The next morning, Logan called in sick to work. Then he drove to the hospital to check on Ruth. How are you feeling, baby? He asked. Scared, Ruth said. Is Mom mad at me? Why would Mom be mad at you? For telling people about Keaton. Logan sat on the edge of Ruth's bed. Ruth, I need you to know something. What Keaton did to you is wrong. What Mom did was wrong. And none of it was your fault. But Mom said, Mom was wrong. Adults are supposed to protect children, not hurt them for money. Ruth started crying. I thought if I was good and did what they wanted, it would help our family. You are good. You're the best kid in the world. But helping our family was never your job. Logan hugged his daughter while she cried. I'm going to fix this, Ruth. I'm going to make sure Keaton and Mom never hurt anyone again. How? By making sure everyone knows the truth about what they did. That afternoon, Logan drove to Keaton's apartment. He looked up the address online. Keaton lived in a rundown complex on the east side of town. Logan knocked on the door. Keaton answered, looking surprised. Logan? What are you doing here? Logan sized up the man who had raped his daughter. Keaton was shorter than Logan, softer. He had kind eyes and a gentle voice. The perfect predator. Nancy sent me, Logan said. Can we talk? Sure, come in. Keaton's apartment was neat and clean. Photos of him with various groups of teenagers covered the walls. Youth counselor, Nancy had said. How's Ruth doing? Keaton asked. Logan watched Keaton's face carefully. She's confused about some things. What kinds of things? She's been telling people that you and Nancy planned her pregnancy. Keaton's expression didn't change. That's ridiculous. I know. Nancy figured Ruth might say something like that. Trauma can make kids imagine things. Exactly. Poor Ruth has been through so much. Logan wanted to smash Keaton's face into the wall. Instead, he pulled out his phone. Nancy wanted me to record you saying that you never touched Ruth. For legal protection. Smart thinking. Keaton looked directly into the phone camera. I never inappropriately touched Ruth Cronmore. I would never hurt a child. Logan nodded. Nancy also wanted you to explain about the money situation. What money situation? Ruth mentioned something about $400,000. Keaton's face flickered. I don't know anything about that. Nancy said you'd explain about the adoption plan. Keaton went very still. What adoption plan? Logan kept the phone recording. The plan to sell Ruth's baby. I think there's been a misunderstanding, Keaton said. Has there? I never talked to Ruth about selling her baby. But you did talk to Nancy about it. Keaton realized he'd been trapped. I think you should leave. In a minute. First, tell me about Derek Holbrook. Keaton's face went white. I don't know anyone by that name. Sure you do. Derek runs the private adoption network. The one that pays premium prices for babies from young mothers. You're recording this illegally. Oregon is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of. Keaton moved toward the door. Get out. Nancy showed Ruth the emails between you and Derek. She showed Ruth the bank account. Ruth knows everything, Keaton. Ruth is a lying little. Keaton caught himself, but too late. Finish that sentence, Logan said. Get out of my apartment. Logan stood up. You know what's going to happen next, right? Nothing's going to happen because Ruth is making up stories. I found Nancy's computer files. I found the emails. I found the bank statements. I found Ruth's drawings showing exactly what you did to her. Keaton backed against the wall. You can't prove anything. I can prove everything. Tomorrow morning, Detective Klein is getting copies of all the evidence. By tomorrow night, you'll be in jail. Nancy will never admit to anything. Logan smiled coldly. Nancy already admitted everything. I recorded her last night confessing the whole plan. It was a lie, but Keaton believed it. She promised me this would work, Keaton said. She promised no one would find out. Logan kept the phone recording. Tell me about the plan. It was Nancy's idea. She said Ruth was pretty and young and we could make good money. She said she'd convince Ruth to cooperate and keep quiet. How much money? For $100,000 total. Split 3 ways. 3 ways. Me, Nancy, and Derek. What about Ruth? What about her? Logan's hands shook with rage. What was going to happen to Ruth after the baby was born? Nancy said Ruth would be fine. She said kids forget things. And you believe that? I needed the money. My disability doesn't cover my medical bills. Logan turned off the recording. Keaton. What? You raped my 12-year-old daughter for money. It wasn't rape. She didn't fight. Logan grabbed Keaton by the throat and slammed him against the wall. She's 12 years old. Keaton struggled to breathe. Nancy said she was mature for her age. Logan squeezed harder. Nancy sold you her own daughter. I'm sorry, Keaton gasped. I'm sorry. Logan released him. Keaton collapsed to the floor, coughing. Tomorrow you're going to prison, Logan said. I just wanted you to know that I know exactly what kind of monster you are. Logan left Keaton on the floor and walked out. He had everything he needed. Logan arrived at the Red Grove police station at 7 in the morning carrying 2 thick folders and a laptop bag. Detective Klein was already at his desk with a cup of coffee and a skeptical expression. Mr. Cromwell, you said on the phone you had evidence? Logan set the folders on Klein's desk. Email records, bank statements, recorded confessions, and documentation of a conspiracy to sexually traffic my daughter. Klein opened the first folder. His expression changed as he read through the printed emails. Jesus Christ, Klein muttered. Where did you get these? Nancy's computer. And Keaton's apartment. You broke into Keaton's apartment. He let me in. I recorded our conversation. Logan played the audio on his phone. Klein listened to Keaton confessing to the plan, admitting he'd raped Ruth for money, describing the $400,000 split. This is enough for multiple felony charges, Klein said. I want them arrested today. We'll need to verify the digital evidence and get warrants, but yeah, today. Logan opened the second folder. Ruth's artwork documenting the abuse. I found these hidden in Nancy's closet. Klein studied the drawings. His face grew hard. Your wife kept these. Trophy collection, maybe. Or insurance against Keaton if he tried to back out. Mr. Cromwell, I have to ask. Did you assault Keaton Voss last night? I grabbed him by the throat for about 5 seconds. That's assault. Sue me. Klein looked at the evidence spread across his desk. Given the circumstances, I think Keaton has bigger problems than a brief choking. When do you arrest them? Soon as we get the warrants. Maybe 2 hours. Logan nodded. I want to be there when you arrest Nancy. That's not how we do things. Make an exception. Klein studied Logan's face. You planning to do something stupid? I'm planning to watch my wife get arrested for selling our daughter. And then I'm going to make sure she never gets out of prison. At 9:15, Logan sat in an unmarked police car outside his house watching Detective Klein and 3 other officers approach the front door. Nancy's Honda was in the driveway. Klein knocked. Nancy answered wearing a bathrobe and a confused expression. Nancy Cronmore, you're under arrest for felony child endangerment, conspiracy to commit human trafficking, and sexual exploitation of a minor. Nancy's legs gave out. She collapsed against the doorframe. This is a mistake, she said. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. Logan put you up to this. He's trying to frame me. Klein cuffed her hands. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Nancy saw Logan in the police car. Logan, tell them this is a mistake. Logan got out of the car and walked to the front door. Nancy, he said calmly. Logan, help me. Ruth is lying about everything. I found your computer files. Nancy's face went white. What files? The emails with Derek Holbrook. The bank account under your maiden name. The travel plans to Montana. Those aren't real. I recorded Keaton confessing. Nancy stared at him. You went to see Keaton? Last night. He told me everything. The plan was your idea. Nancy's mask finally fell away completely. You have no idea what it's like being married to someone like you. Someone like what? Someone who makes $38,000 a year and thinks that's enough. Someone who's satisfied with this pathetic little life. Logan stared at his wife. So you sold our daughter. I gave Ruth a chance to help her family get ahead for once. You gave Ruth trauma that'll last the rest of her life. Ruth will get over it. Kids are resilient. Logan stepped closer. Ruth will never get over it. And neither will I. Nancy's eyes filled with tears, but they looked fake. Logan, please. Think about what you're doing to our family. I'm protecting what's left of our family. I can fix this. I can make this right. No, you can't. Detective Klein put Nancy in the back of his cruiser. As they drove away, Nancy pressed her face against the window, still trying to mouth words at Logan. Logan watched until the car disappeared. Then he went inside to pack his things. 6 months later, Logan sat in the front row of Multnomah County Court wearing his only suit. Ruth sat beside him, 7 months pregnant and brave in a way that amazed him every day. Nancy's lawyer, a sharp-dressed woman named Patricia Mills, was arguing that Nancy had been manipulated by Keaton Voss, that she was a victim of psychological coercion. My client is a loving mother who was deceived by a predator, Mills said. Keaton Voss took advantage of Mrs. Cronmore's financial desperation and manipulated her into believing she was helping her family. Logan wanted to laugh. Nancy had manipulated everyone her entire life. The idea that someone had manipulated her was ridiculous. District Attorney Williams stood up for cross-examination. Mrs. Mills, you claim your client was manipulated. But evidence shows Mrs. Cronmore initiated contact with Derek Holbrook's adoption network. Evidence shows she opened a secret bank account 6 months before meeting Keaton Voss. Evidence shows she researched the black market value of infants before approaching Mr. Voss with her plan. Mills looked uncomfortable. My client was desperate. Desperate enough to groom her own daughter for sexual abuse. Objection, Mills said. Sustained, Judge Carver said. Williams continued. Mrs. Cronmore, did you or did you not tell your daughter to be nice to Keaton Voss? Nancy, sitting at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, looked smaller than Logan remembered. Prison had aged her. I told Ruth to be polite, Nancy said. Keaton was helping with household repairs. What kind of household repairs required her 12-year-old daughter to be alone with Mr. Voss? I don't remember being specific about that. Williams pulled out a transcript. According to Ruth's testimony, you told her Keaton needs special help and you're the only one who can give it to him. What did you mean by special help? I meant help with organizing his belongings. Organizing his belongings? Yes. Williams showed the jury one of Ruth's drawings. Mrs. Cronmore, can you explain why your daughter drew pictures of Mr. Voss sexually assaulting her if she was just helping him organize belongings? Nancy stared at the drawing. Ruth has an active imagination. An imagination that accurately predicted her pregnancy 6 months before it was medically detectable. Mills objected again, but the damage was done. The jury had seen the drawings. They'd heard the recordings of Keaton confessing. They'd seen the financial evidence. When Logan took the stand, Williams asked him to describe finding the evidence. I went through Nancy's computer files and found email exchanges about selling our grandchild, Logan said. I found bank records showing payments from the adoption broker. I found travel documents for Nancy to flee the country after the baby was born. How did this discovery make you feel? Like I'd been married to a stranger for 15 years. Williams played the recording of Logan's conversation with Keaton. The courtroom listened to Keaton confess to raping Ruth for money and describing Nancy as the mastermind of the plan. Mr. Cronmore, did your wife ever express remorse for what happened to Ruth? Logan thought about Nancy's arrest, her attempts to blame Ruth for lying, her insistence that she'd done nothing wrong. No, Logan said. Even after being arrested, Nancy maintained that Ruth was making up stories to get attention. Has your wife attempted to contact you or Ruth since her arrest? She's written letters. What do these letters say? They asked me to recant my testimony and convince Ruth to change her story. Williams showed the jury copies of Nancy's letters from jail. Letters asking Logan to lie for her. Letters offering to make things right if he'd help her beat the charges. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Nancy received 25 years without possibility of parole. Keaton, who had taken a plea deal in exchange for testifying against Nancy, received life without parole. As the judge read the sentences, Nancy turned to look at Logan. Her face showed no remorse, only anger at being caught. Logan felt nothing but relief. 2 months after the trial, Ruth gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Arlen, which was her middle name. Logan held his grandson in the hospital room and felt something he hadn't felt in over a year. Hope. He's beautiful, Ruth. He looks like you, Ruth said. I'm glad he doesn't look like Keaton. Logan studied the baby's face. Arlen had Ruth's eyes and Logan's stubborn chin. What do you want to do? Logan asked. What do you mean? About keeping him or giving him up for adoption. A real adoption through legitimate channels. Ruth touched Arlen's tiny hand. I want to keep him. Are you sure? I know I'm young. I know it'll be hard. But he's mine. Logan nodded. Then we'll make it work. They'd already made a lot of things work. Logan had sold the house in Red Grove and bought a small property outside town. He'd started his own custom fabrication business with his sister Marlo as a partner. Ruth was doing her schoolwork online and seeing a trauma counselor twice a week. The nightmares were getting less frequent. Ruth was drawing again, but now her pictures showed flowers and sunshine instead of dark figures. Dad, yeah, do you think Mom ever loved me? Logan considered lying, but Ruth deserved truth. I think Nancy loved the idea of you. But loving someone means protecting them, not using them. Do you think she ever loved you? I think Nancy loved what I could give her. But when that wasn't enough, she was willing to sacrifice everything we had for money. Ruth adjusted Arlen in her arms. I'm never going to be like her. You're nothing like her. How do you know? Because you just gave birth to a baby you could sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and instead you're planning to work your ass off for the next 18 years to raise him right. Ruth smiled for the first time in months. Language, Dad. Sorry. That afternoon, Logan's sister Marlo arrived with balloons and baby clothes. How's our boy doing? Marlo asked. Sleeping and eating, Ruth said. That's about it. Marlo sat on the edge of the hospital bed. Ruth, I want you to know something. What happened to you wasn't your fault. None of it. I know. Do you really know, or are you just saying that? Ruth considered the question. I really know. Dr. Peterson helped me understand that kids can't consent to what adults want from them. Good, because you're going to have moments when you doubt that, when you blame yourself. When that happens, call me. Okay. Logan watched his sister interact with Ruth. Marlo had been furious when she learned what Nancy had done. She wanted to drive to the county jail and beat Nancy's face in. Logan had talked her out of it, but barely. Logan, Marlo said, Nancy's been calling my house. What? Collect calls from jail. I haven't accepted them, but she keeps trying. What does she want? According to the operator, she wants to explain her side of the story. Logan felt his jaw clench. Her side of the story. I thought you should know. Thanks. That evening, alone in Ruth's hospital room while she slept, Logan thought about Nancy's calls. Even in prison, she was still trying to manipulate people. Still trying to find someone who would believe her lies. He thought about visiting her. About telling her exactly what he thought of her choices. About making sure she understood that she'd destroyed any chance of redemption. But then he looked at Ruth and Arlen sleeping peacefully, and he realized Nancy wasn't worth his time anymore. 3 days later, Logan took Ruth and Arlen home to their new house. It was smaller than the old place, but it felt safer. Ruth had her own art studio in the converted garage. Arlen had a nursery painted soft blue with clouds on the ceiling. That night, after Ruth and Arlen were asleep, Logan sat on his front porch and called Detective Klein. Logan? Everything okay? Yeah, I wanted to thank you. For what? For believing Ruth. For taking the case seriously. Just doing my job. You did more than that. You treated Ruth like her story mattered. Her story did matter. Kids don't make up stories like that. Logan looked out at his new property. Trees and open space as far as he could see. No neighbors close enough to hurt them. Klein, yeah. If Nancy tries to appeal or get early release, you'll let me know. She won't get early release. Not with her crimes. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. Thanks. Logan ended the call and sat in the quiet darkness. For the first time in over a year, he felt something close to peace. 6 months later, Logan made one visit to Nancy's prison that he sat across from her in the visiting room, separated by reinforced glass. Nancy looked older, grayer. Prison had stripped away her ability to present a perfect facade. Logan, Nancy said through the phone, I knew you'd come. I'm not here to reconcile. Then why are you here? Logan studied her face. I wanted to see if you felt any remorse. For what? For selling our daughter to a rapist for money. Nancy's expression hardened. I try to help our family get ahead by having our 12-year-old daughter raped. Ruth wasn't hurt. Logan stared at her. Ruth wasn't hurt. She's fine. Kids bounce back. Ruth has nightmares. Ruth sees a trauma counselor. Ruth can't be alone with adult men without having panic attacks. That's because you've convinced her she's a victim. Logan felt the familiar rage building in his chest. Nancy, you groomed our daughter for sexual abuse. You watched it happen. You planned to sell her baby. I planned to give that baby a better life than we could provide. You planned to take $400,000 and disappear. Nancy shrugged. I deserved better than the life you gave me. Logan stood up. I came here to tell you something. What? Ruth and Arlen are thriving. Ruth is back in school. She's making art again. Arlen is healthy and happy. They're both going to have amazing lives. Nancy's mask slipped. You can't keep my grandson from me forever. Yes, I can. And I will. Ruth will want to see me eventually. Ruth never wants to see you again. Children forgive their parents. Not children whose parents sell them to rapists. Nancy's face twisted with anger. You think you're so much better than me. I'm better than you. Any decent person is better than you. You're nobody, Logan. You're a small-town welder who'll never amount to anything. Logan smiled. And you're a woman who traded her daughter's innocence for money and ended up in prison for the rest of her life. I'd rather be nobody than be you. He hung up the phone and walked out of the visiting room without looking back. Nancy pounded on the glass and screamed his name, but Logan didn't turn around. Outside the prison, Logan called Ruth. How did it go? Ruth asked. She doesn't feel sorry for what she did. I didn't think she would. Does that bother you? Ruth was quiet for a moment. It did for a while. I kept thinking that if I could just explain how much she hurt me, she'd apologize and mean it. And now I realize that expecting Nancy to feel sorry is like expecting a rock to cry. It's just not going to happen. Logan smiled. Ruth's therapist was earning her money. Are you okay? Ruth asked. Yeah, I'm good. Come home, Dad. Arlen has tried to crawl. Logan drove home to his daughter and grandson, leaving Nancy in the past where she belonged. That night, as Logan watched Ruth help Arlen take his first tentative crawling steps across the living room floor, he realized something important. They had survived. Despite Nancy's betrayal, despite the trauma, despite everything that had tried to break them, they had survived. Ruth was stronger than Nancy had ever been. Arlen would grow up knowing he was loved and protected. Logan had learned that family wasn't just about blood. It was about people who chose to love and protect each other. Nancy had chosen money over love. She'd chosen manipulation over honesty. She'd chosen her own desires over her daughter's safety. Logan had chosen differently. Ruth had chosen differently. That made all the difference as Arlen collapsed in giggles after managing 3 whole crawling steps. Ruth looked at Logan with tears in her eyes. We did it, Dad. Did what? We survived. We're okay. Logan hugged his daughter and grandson. Yeah, kid. We're more than okay. Outside, the Oregon sky turned purple with sunset. Inside, 3 generations of Cronmores built a new life on the foundation of truth, love, and the unshakable knowledge that they would never let anyone hurt their family again. Nancy had tried to break them for cash. She had sold her soul for money that she would never see. They had survived. She had not.